Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, we got a treat for you today. This is even more than I knew was coming. So that's always a good thing. Want to make sure you know that today, after the show, our gift shop is going to be open because our volunteer who's here today is going to stay a little longer and have it open. Now's the time for you to do that Christmas shopping if you have not yet, because there's some very unique stuff in there. So stop by the gift shop before you leave and check out all the cool stuff. We want to thank Monica. Where's Monica? Monica Medina Espinoza, who we love very much. That's Monica right there. Monica is from Hell South, and if you have been with us in the summertime, Monica is our hot dog girl. And so she is sponsoring, when we do the hot dog cookout out on the patio, Monica is always our sponsor for that event. And today she is our sponsor, and she's also sponsoring another event in December. So we thank Health South very much for being our sponsor today and bringing lovely refreshments that you're going to have following the show. So definitely hang around for that too. So without further ado, I really don't have a great introduction for this group outside of telling you who's who. And then they're going to tell you about how they came to be, if you will. Not like really when they were born or any of that sort of stuff, but how they kind of got together. And they are going to have CDs for sale up here for $10 also afterwards. So if you love the music, you may want to take some home. And I see you've got some fans in the back row already. Okay, so we have Dave Sproul, who worked with me in setting this up. Dave, raise your hand. That's Dave. Dave and I worked on putting this together. And then we have Rod Krug. And we have John Skibbin. Scriven. Oh, I didn't get that part. I had you skipping down the road. Sorry. All right, well, without further ado, let's welcome our Native American flautist.
How we got here, that was her story. I happened to wander through one day after a Tai Chi class here, and I said, well, you know, I could offer a senior center class on playing the flute, or maybe start a group playing flutes here. And she said, well, how about playing? I said, yeah, we can do that too. And so that was 9 months ago. About three months ago, I got a call. Well, how about this date? I said, well, that'll work. And I decided I needed a backup in case 3 months, a lot can happen. So I got a hold of Rod. He does things different than I do, usually. And then he got a backup, John, which I met for the first time today. So you talk about an informal operation, we're going to have fun. So that's the whole how we got together. There's a couple things. She said she wanted some words and she wanted some music. So I'm going to give you some words about the Native American flute, and Ron will give you some words about the instruments he's playing, and John will also. So I'm not going to try to steal their thunder. And they've got it with those Didge. There's two things. These are Native American flutes. Now, some of them are and some of them aren't. Some are Native American style flutes. The difference there is a fine line between who makes them. If you're a Native American, they're Native American flutes. If you're not a Native American, they're Native American style flutes. That's the distinction. And the Native Americans are very protective of that, and I can understand why. They used to make them in the olden days, before we had lathes and measuring devices and that, and micrometers. And he can tell you about making them because he makes flutes. And by the way, he has CDs and he makes flutes. He has. You didn't bring your flutes? Oh, okay. Well, he blew that. Anyhow, he makes them. If you're interested in getting one, see him. In the old days, they used to make them by, well, I'm going to make a flute today. I'm going to make this long. And I'm going to put the first note, or the first hole in there, that far up. And then I'm going to do this one, and then the 2 fingers here, 1 finger there, 2 fingers there. So the quality control from flute to flute wasn't that good, let alone from maker to maker. But a lot of them were in tune with themselves, and they weren't in tune with the Western scale, the diatonic scale. These are all pentatonic flutes. There are some diatonic flutes. There are some diatonic flutes, but excuse me, Mindy's back there giving me the thumbs up. I got my mic right. Just look over. Yeah. But all I have are pentatonic scale, which is the prevalent indigenous scale available worldwide. The diatonic thing is something Mozart came up with, or one of those guys, Brahms, those people from Europe. That's where it came from. The design is 2-chambered. There's you blow in this in, it comes in, and there's a block in here, and it forces the air up. It goes through a very fine opening here, and it goes to a cutting edge or a pipple, and then it comes down in the tuning hole, or tuning chamber. And each flute is in its own key. They have to be, this one has holes in the end. That's to tune it for this particular, that's the acoustic length. The physical length is this. And so when I when I close all the holes, this is an E flute, and it will give you the tone of E. Some of that, since we don't have a canyon here, I've got some electronic boxes here that makes canyons and echoes and things like that. So that's some of that reverb in there. We have some music that is truly salvaged from the Indians, and I want to pay homage to one person, Natalie Curtis, along with Francis Dinsmore and Al Stitch and Roland Lawrence. The first 3 were women, but Natalie Curtis went out. She was an ethnomusicologist or something like that, and she had studied in Europe and back east, and she was quite an accomplished musician. And she took a trip into Hopi Land around 1900. Now, it's not clear to me whether she did this as a single woman or she did it with maybe 1 or 2 other people, but Hopi Land is out in the middle of nowhere, especially in the 1900s. In fact, it's pretty well protected by its isolation. It kept a lot of its cultures that way. But she got out there and she started trying to record some of this music. She wanted the Indians there, and if you take the first term Indian, I grew up in New Mexico, and that's a basic term I learned down there with my friends. Anyhow, Native Americans, Indians, she wanted to record their music, and they said, we can't do that. If we play our music, we go to prison. And she said, basically what? And it turns out that the late 1800s, early 1900s, there's a very pronounced effort by the U.S. government to eliminate basically all the Native American culture, traditions, history, the whole 9 yards. Music being one of them. Well, that bent her out of shape a little bit for being a lady from back east. So she got a hold of her father, or uncle, who just happened to know a senator, who went across the street and talked to Theodore Roosevelt, who then went around to, I think it was the Bureau of Indian Affairs at the time, it may have been some other organization at that time. They changed names to protect the innocent and the guilty. And the word came back down, hey, let them play, let them record it. she started recording. And she recorded on paper, pencil, and with wax cylinders. These three ladies all did that. They went to different areas. They weren't overlapping or anything. And that wasn't by design, it's just by coincidence. So we have a lot of music on wax cylinders, some of being converted to a bit more modern, but we do have music. This first song I want to play is Hopi Lullaby, and it is one, I believe, I'm pretty sure I got out of Natalie Curtis, one of her books that I would have. That's one of the songs that we managed to capture with the, subsequent to her getting a hold of Roosevelt. Then these other ladies and this next guy, Monroe Lawrence, had more access into the music cultures of the Indians. They were able to record more. These recordings are in several museums and universities up in the Midwest, out in the D.C. area. You can find them if you go online or if you're really interested. This next one is by Thoreau Lawrence. He calls it a love song, I guess so. And he recorded it at the Red Willow Pueblo. And the best I can determine, he was referring to Taos, or a pueblo, maybe a sub-pueblo in that general area. And let's see, I gotta do some adjusting here. The Cherokee lived in the area in general area north and east, and just a big glob. States didn't exist very well then, but they lived there. And let's see, it was 1838, 1839, for about a year there, from spring to spring. That means fall and winter. The U.S. government marched them out of there into Oklahoma. A lot of them died. After reading some of it, it sounded more like a Bataan Death March. From the Cherokee Sunset by Samuel Carter III, in his document, he said, "Then there came a reign of terror. From the jagged wall stockades, the troops fanned down across the nation, invading every hamlet, every cabin, rooting out the inhabitants at Bandit Point. The Cherokees hardly had time to realize what was happening as they plodded like so many sheep towards the concentration camps." Now, this was written in 1977, so there was something there. "Threatened with knives and pistols, beaten with rifle butts if they resisted. Many perished on the difficult journey. But because of the poor conditions, the Cherokee were not always able to give their dead full burial. Instead, they sang Amazing Grace, had to suffice." Since then, Amazing Grace is often considered the Cherokee national anthem. I'm going to crank that out for you here. Let's see. I might add, most of the Cherokee Nation had become Christians, or a big portion, and they had developed their own written language. I mean, they weren't what you would consider like the Apache or that. They were really well educated. They had almost completely converted to farmer subsistence. Okay, what? We're sort of loose up here.
Testing, check. Welcome everybody. we're talking about the Native American style flute, and there's a story that's told that the woodpeckers really invented the flute. They said that sunflower stalk, like this flute right here, the woodpeckers would come and peck holes, and then the wind would blow, and then you would hear the song of the flute. So there's one story. We're all stories. But this is made out of sunflower stalk, and it sounds like this. That I created myself. This is made out of Colorado aspen, and it's a droning flute. It's a 2-chamber flute. One side plays the melody, and the other side just a droning note. Now, they say also a story is that the Native American men used to use these flutes as a courting flute. They would make their flutes probably more like the sunflower stalk flute. And the women would be out gathering during the day, and the men would go out with their flutes out in the distance where they wouldn't be seen, and they would start playing their flute. And then when the right woman would hear the sound of the gentleman's flute, they would meet together, and then they would marry. And that's the story of the courting flute. So I'm not going to court anybody, but I'm just going to play this too.
Oh, darn. Honey.
And like David said, these are all in different keys. And this is an F sharp minor. Some flutes are made out of PVC. This is a PVC flute with a wooden end, and believe it or not, I paid $100 for this thing. But it's got a great sound to it, and this is a song I created. I don't have a name for the song, but I know you've all been sitting here in the chair, one position. I'd like for everybody to stand up for this song, move around a little bit, and I call it the unknown song because I don't have a name for the song. It's a little bit of an upbeat tune. probably wondering what these instruments are down here. These are not flutes. Those are didgeridoos. They're not flutes. They could be nose flutes. But these are instruments from Australia. We'll be playing these instruments in just a couple more tunes here. So. John. This flute I have here is made out of ceramic. Maker out of Denver. Meadowlark Flutes makes these flutes. He makes them out of clay, fires them up and glazes them, tunes them up, and they weigh a ton, but they're really nice flutes. And this flute is a harmony drone flute. One side plays one key bottom notes, the other side plays a higher key and the upper notes on this flute.
that okay?
Hang on.
You good? Okay, do I need mine? Is this on? I did. Okay, good. Okay. Mine's a little bigger. We're gonna But it is really one of the things initially. I'd like everybody in the audience to try something, and this is really how you actually create the background noise in this. Now, can everybody flutter your lips like this when you go? Just flutter your lips like that. That gets your motor running, doesn't it? Okay, sweet. Okay. And this is really, in this essence, actually, this is really one of the beauties about the combination of these two instruments, is that in the indigenous traditions that the didgeridoo, as this instrument is known as, there are some other names as well, as yadaki and mamalima, which are more traditional names. The didgeridoo is the more common name. That the flute is considered the sky, and the didgeridoo is considered the earth. And in native traditions, the earth and the sky were never connected, so there is in their spiritual traditions that those two things, the earth and the sky, were never separated from each other. And that is really kind of one of the beauties about the combination of two wind instruments in this respect. Now, the thing is, you might notice a difference in the flute instruments is that they have holes in them, and I can see you through this one, it's hollow. Okay? Now, and this is really one of the beauties about the didgeridoo. Now, they figured this instrument's been played for about 40,000 years, which is quite a while. There are some traditions about how, there's always legends behind things as they're passed down through cultures about how things were created. And one of the stories about this, and I'm just going to create a little story about this in ways, because this is really one of the legends that I was told by some Aboriginal people. And I've had the great opportunity to spend some time with some Aboriginal people in this country. Now, I've never been to Australia, which where these instruments originate. But it has been really one of the neat things is that I was told this legend by one of the fellows. And I'm just going to use a little homemade wind machine here to actually just kind of create this, and then I'll tell you the story behind it. I'm going to stand, can everybody hear me? Okay, I'm going to stand out here and just... Can you hear how the wind changes as it comes down? Well, this is really one of the things about this, is that now the Aboriginal people being nomadic people, so as they traveled the landscape, this is really one of the things, they always studied landscapes. They looked at the creatures in landscapes. And as they were camping, and this is really, I use the word camping, but it was really one of the things that, what they really did is they celebrated at night. And this is really one of the things I would love if more traditions did this, so they would have their fire, and one of the elders would actually create, with bilmas or click sticks, he would actually create the rhythms. And then the whole community, and there would be one designated didgeridoo player, and everybody else would dance. So they would actually dance the creatures that they saw that day. And when they would do that, they would actually integrate their landscape into themselves, so they actually became part of their world. And that was really kind of one of the beauties about all of that. And as you see with this instrument here, that as they were camped, it was really, they kept hearing this sound, like that wind. It was a very blustery night, but they kept hearing a second wind. And so in their investigation, their curiosity, they started looking around, and they actually saw that one of the pieces of firewood that they had gathered was hollow. So relating to that aspect, well, if the wind creates that sound, maybe we can do that same thing. So when they did, they started blowing inside of this hollow tube, and that's really kind of one of the legends of the origin of this instrument. Okay. Now, as I had you flutter your lips before, okay. Now I'm just going to kind of show you, that creates the background sound in this instrument, which is referred to as the drone sound. explain a little more about that. But that's basically, can you hear that background sound that gets created? And now, that's why I had you flutter your lips, because that's basically what that creates. Now, as you can see with this instrument, now this is a traditional instrument, and I use the word traditional because it is from the Northern Territory in Australia. All of the other instruments here are actually from North America, and they're actually made by people that actually in this country. But the instruments are hollowed out by termites. And the beauty about this is the Aboriginal people walk through the bush and they will tap, and if they hear this certain hollow sound, then they actually harvest the instrument, and then they actually let it cure for a while, then they continue to clean it out. Now, you might notice, everybody see the paintings on? Have you seen there are some paintings here. And this is very indicative of something that's very dear to their clan, and I'll explain kind of these. Now, the rings on the bottom, that is water. This is a water clan. As you can see, there's a stork, there's a fish, and the high marks are actually wavy water, and this is still water, so it's that circular action of this. Now, so I'm going to play a song in honor of that, and this is called At the Water Hole. And now, one of the things I'm going to do is that if you see me as I'm playing, I'm going to actually explain how songs are created in the rhythmatic and in the indigenous tradition. Has everybody ever been fishing before? You ever seen fish swim in the water? Okay. Now, it is really one of the things, if you watch wave action, it has a top rhythm in this fashion. If you watch the fish underneath, they have this sideways rhythm. So you can see the two rhythms actually work together, but they actually are different rhythms in the way that things work. And this is really one of the things that I'll be doing some arm motions, because we'll actually, and this is called At the Water Hole, and actually the essence of the song is, now if you've ever seen storks or herons stand beside the water, they're very still, and they actually observe as if they're part of the landscape, and then they've got them. Okay, that's when they go for the fish. That's what they're after. Okay, so as you see me do some arm motions, I'll just kind of go through that, and this being at the water hole. So as you've been on water holes before, who knows what other kind of things may show up, and we'll just see what happens in the song. So there might be lots of weird noises coming out of this. That was all one breath. You caught on to me, did you? Okay. Now, really one of the beauties, actually, and the didgeridoo is considered to be the world's most harmonic musical instrument. Now, that seems kind of strange, doesn't it? Because it's hollow. So what do you suppose is the world's most harmonic musical instrument? Any idea? The human body, yes, yes. It is considered the most harmonic instrument, and that is really kind of one of the things of that connection, actually, so it really amplifies the sound of what's being created. Now, could you hear the different sounds in the background? Things like that in that fashion, yeah. Now, so really the essence of one of the beauties about playing this instrument is that it taps into all your different sounds that you have, okay? And that's really kind of one of the beauties about actually creating songs in this respect. And I'd like to play another song for you. This one's called Wild Horses. And this is really one of the things about songs is that, you know, you've heard folk songers, they write about music. And this is really one of the differences when you actually play them through a wind instrument in this respect, is that they're based more on the vibrational qualities of what you see. So that as you see that there's more of these rhythmic patterns that actually create this has happened. And now this one is called Wild Hoods, and it's actually from a personal experience that I had in, has anybody ever driven across Nevada? Oh, not Nevada Avenue, mind you, but the state of Nevada, yeah. Well, that too, you know, that's a little more crowded than the state of Nevada. But it is in this fashion that you might, there's these wide open spaces, and one of the beauties for me is I was traveling back from California one of the times is that I was the only person on the road, and probably from about here to the far wall in here, a herd of wild horses started coming across the road. And it was one of those astounding things. You just stop and get out of the car, and, and the earth is just doing this. It's just doing this. And there were probably about 40 horses. And it was just really beautiful in that essence, because one of the things that it really sort of brought out for me was that to just see this rhythmic action in muscles. That, now we've all seen domestic horses, but when you truly see something in the wild that hasn't really been in a pen or broken in that fashion, the beauty and the grace that is actually in their bodies, that they actually move with, is really quite incredible. And it always reminds me in this way that, well, how do I put myself in the pen, you know? So whenever I play the song, it's like get out in the wild and run free in that respect. So you get all of that action back in your body instead of sort of being trapped inside of the corral sometimes. So this song is referred to as Wild Hoods. Or where are we going with this now? You have any idea? Still on? Okay. We wanted to do one more? Okay. How many know what time of year it is? Yes. Okay. One of my favorite times of year. This is really one of the beauties. How many go out and lay under a tree when the leaves are falling? And you encourage them to fall on you? You know, when you lay there and you feel really gifted if one falls on you in that sort of sense. Well, it really is. One of the things that's so beautiful for me this time of year is that I love to watch them because each one has its own personality. And so some of them have this spiral shape, so they come down to the ground this way, and others are, they just take their time. And it is really one of these things, it's so beautiful to actually watch something actually interact with the wind, with the currents of things. And this is really one of the things for me that why this is such a great time of year, not only the colorations of that, but you know, I could lay there for hours and watch this process, and that's really kind of one of the things for me. And this next song is coming, and the name of the song is called Dancing Leaves, and it really is about that essence, is that as they move through the sky, they just have this incredible dance and rhythm and movements about the way that they go about things. And some of them land hard, some of them land soft. And then they kind of create these great patterns, and then, now, have you ever seen it when the wind gets stronger and they create these little mini storms? It's great, because I sit there and I just watch this and I go, the wind is always chasing the leaves, it never catches them. So it's like this game in nature that really goes on in that fashion, and it really is truly a beautiful thing for me to just watch. So this next thing is just called, I'm going to take you to the water first, but and this is called Dancing Leaves. now I guess we're going to see what else happens. Okay, we can try some together. Just go till 3. Is that what it's scheduled to? Are you a captive audience? The doors are locked, you know. Once you got in there, it's too late. Once the doors are locked. Sorry about that. Go ahead. That's how we operate, you know. Yeah, we're not quite sure exactly when we're supposed to end, but
And then it's supposed to feed from 2:30.
but did it say from 1:30 to 3? I believe is what it said. I think that's what it said, yeah.
Around 2:30, so one more song will be
Okay, see? How about it now? How about it now? Yeah, what we're going to do is now, sort of in this essence of leaving, we're actually going to, does everybody have an F? Or what?
I got an A.
An A? Okay.
That goes.
Close, okay, an A going. All right, so we're going to create this combination of earth and sky to actually send you not only flying home, but actually really grounded at the same time. So you have these really beautiful connections from heaven and earth in that respect between those things. Yeah. Okay. And I'll let you guys lead, and I'll just play the rhythmic background. Yeah, the flute is sky, it is earth.
Very, very.
You may want to turn this down a little bit for me. Yeah, just, I don't want to overpower anything.
Oh my God.
I'm pulling out the big guys. Now, this is really one of the things, just before we start this, is that I'm just going to have a little guessing game, and now there's a prize in the end for you. Okay? Okay? All right. Okay, just before we go with this. Now, what do you think this is made from? What kind of wood? Well, how many think it's birch? 1. How many think it's aspen? I heard aspen out there as well. It looks like aspen wins. Yes, you're the winners. Okay? I don't know what you got, but you just you're right. So, okay.
2 rookies.
Exactly. Now, what do you think this of? You see, almost any piece of wood has the potential. Even your indoor plumbing has the potential to be an indoor.
That's from Arizona.
Okay. How many of you ever drank tequila?
Yeah.
What plant does tequila come from? The agave plant. There you go. So next time you have a shot of tequila, just think.
You supported music.
You supported the use of this instrument. So keep drinking. Okay. And the traditionalism that I showed you actually is woolly-gum eucalyptus. So, okay? So we ready to go? Okay. I'll just join in and tell me we've written that.
anytime.
Well, that was mesmerizing and fascinating. It truly, truly was. Is it okay if they hang around and kind of visit with you? Because I know there's questions that they'd like to ask you and stuff, so great. So we want to thank Health South again for the lovely stuff you're going to have. We've got breads and cookies and apple cider today, so please visit with them and